Synth Network.
Good evening, it's Sunday the 13th of December. This is episode 37 of the Pro Synth Network live show. Myself, Ben Simpson, Cryss Synthient. Welcome guys, how are you today?
Great, I'm great. Don't know
Good.
about Chris. See, he looks alright.
He looks happy, he's smiling. Good to see you again, gents. Busy week this week?
I was on Ranzy's show yesterday.
You were, yes. I was.
Which was all. It was good. He's a great guy, Ranz. But I decided to fit a graphics card into my Mac Pro about half an hour before I was due on the show. So I'm there, with the countdown coming and my computer all in bits, sweating, thinking, "Oh my god!" And I just made it in time, and I sat there dead late, as if nothing had happened. Quite good. I enjoyed it though. I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I've not done hardware changes, but I've certainly got an hour before I'm supposed to be going live or something, and then, oh look, there's a software update, click. Oh no, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Right. Crazy. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, doing all right. It has been kind of a busy week, but ordered some new monitors, and those are on the way. Hopefully should be here tomorrow. So this morning was starting to get the desk ready and cleaned off and organized again. So looking forward to that.
Excellent stuff. Excellent. Well, let's say hello to our viewers, because they're important. They're the reason we're here. So we've got obviously Native VS, Andrew Brooks, Marshall Arnold, Asio Head, Sasquatch, Mac, Sinister Coatfish. I love that name. Who else have we got? Jupiter Boy 74, Atto Z, Dr. Synth. Gracing us with his presence again today. JP Page 2. Have I missed anyone? I don't think. Did I say? I said Wagyu, didn't I? He gets two mentions because he's a nice bloke. And of course, if you are watching and you're not in the chat room, then get in there, because it's a good bunch of people and we have a laugh. But, if you don't want to, if you feel more comfortable just being a lurker, that's absolutely fine too. Just so that you know, if you wish to donate to the show, which we would absolutely love you to do, and those of you who have already done it, thank you. But there's the link. It is also in the description down below on the YouTube page. So if you do want to donate and help keep us going, then that's the link to go to. If you want to play along throughout the show with PSN Bingo, Native VS has done this week's new bingo card. There's the link. And the link, again, is also down below in the show notes. So you can play along, have a laugh with that as well. And of course, if you don't already, please do join us on our Facebook page. Just search for Pro Synth Network on Facebook and you'll find us. Just join us there. And of course, always hit the like button here on on YouTube, the subscribe button, and that really helps us. And hit the little bell button as well to be notified when we go on air. If you are watching on Facebook, because we do this to Facebook Live as well at the same time, if you are watching on Facebook, if you want to comment, we'll see your comments. However, you need to register, you link the StreamYard app, the StreamYard Facebook app. The link's in the description there, and that way we get to see you, and we get to see who you are when you're talking. Because if we like what you say, we put it on screen. You see, there's Point Surrender, which I think that's Aaron, isn't it? He's come in under a different name today. He's trying to trick us. But you see, we can just throw your name up on screen. Wagyu says, fight the system, Aaron. So yes, and we've got some more people here. Mark M, hope everyone's well. I am. I think we all are. So thank you for your kind greetings there. So yeah, we can do stuff like that, and everybody knows who you are when you say these cool things, and then we can throw them on the screen. I think that's all the housekeeping stuff out of the way. Shall we do some topics? We've got some good ones today. So let's start off with our friends, GForce Software, who have announced the next addition to their library of Mellotron sounds, the Streetly Tapes Volume 5. Now, I haven't actually picked this up yet, but if you want to, it's currently half price. It's 25 quid, and you're getting some really, really good sounds here. So this is for their M-Tron Pro instrument, and you download these, and away you go with 24 carefully curated tape banks, 35 notes per tape bank. It's a half a gig download derived from original EMI tape stock, and the tape banks do come from the original UK Tron masters. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Cryss, you snapped this one up, so maybe we should go to you first and find out what you thought.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty new to the GForce M-Tron Pro. As we talked about a couple weeks ago, my old IK Multimedia sample tank stuff, they have not updated in many years, and it no longer works. Right. So I hadn't intended on finding new Mellotron software, but now I have lots, because after the Arturia update, which I was all the way back on V6, so now I have the Mellotron stuff in there. And then before I did that, actually, I bought the full package of the M-Tron Pro stuff, and it is fantastic. It's really good. The Streetly Tapes are great. The stuff's really expensive, to be honest. If you wait for it to go on sale, which is very rare, or the other way to get it cheaper is you buy their whole package, and then it's cut down by quite a bit. Yeah. So I hadn't intended to buy every single add-on pack, but it just made sense to just grab the whole thing because it ended up being so cheap. So this came out like a week or two later, and I was like, all right, for half price, I'll add that on. So, I've really been enjoying that. The only thing is I haven't had as much time as I would have liked to yet to use it, but I've kind of explored some of the presets and how it works. And really, it is the best Mellotron software out there, in my opinion. Oh,
without a doubt, without a doubt. And the Mellotrons is one of these funny things. I mean, I worked on... They did a version of this for Reason in their rack extension format called Retron. And Dave asked me if I could put some stuff together for that, because I guess my name was sort of floating around in the Reason circle, so that it was just kind of a tie-up sort of thing. Anyway, did these sounds, and it's funny when you're going through those tape banks and you listen to the sounds in isolation, a lot of the time you're thinking, oh, this sounds very old and very... not quite sure I'm going to use this, but then all of a sudden you just start tweaking or layering these things, and it's just a remarkable thing. And to think that these sounds and this machine, which dates back decades, is still highly loved and sought after. Ben, I mean, are you a Mellotron fan, a Mellotron user?
Not really, but I have listened to these, and really good, especially that guitar one. There's like a guitar one, and it just sounds great. But I do like the character that the Mellotron adds to the sound. And it is technically the first sampler, isn't it? So you've got to hats off to that. I just think that it's been a bit overdone in certain areas, but I've got to say that like Dave Spears' his demo for these new Streetly tapes is superb, and that kind of changed my mind a little bit about it. I was thinking, maybe it doesn't have to be Strawberry Fields, does it?
You can get hooked into that. Oh, look, there's that sound, and let's start. And you can't. It's a signature sound. You can't use Mellotron flutes. Is there another song that uses Mellotron flutes? It's kind of like exclusively reserved, isn't it? For
I think so. Yeah.
I think you can probably get away with the strings, because then you've got like Watcher in the Skies and Court of the Crimson King, but that seems like the strings and the choirs get used a lot more. And we've heard those on Smashing Pumpkins and Radiohead and other newer acts. Like 25 years ago.
I like. I'm a big fan of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and they did. I can't remember the name of the album, which that holding the egg and the egg's exploding. And there's a track on there that uses the Roxy Music Bank from M-Tron Pro, and it's got all of these kind of string little riffs, and they've played it in a certain way. And I thought when I first heard, I didn't realise that was a Mellotron. It was only when I was going through Mellotron banks I thought, it's that sound. And then I started playing that, that whole track, and it just becomes very easy to do. But it is a lovely, lovely thing. And as you say, Dave's demos, he's sickeningly talented. I hate him so much, but he is so
great
so
demo.
good. Yeah, he does. He's engaging, and musically he's brilliant. So
one of the nice things too that within the preset system. So I mean, you can take any of the sound tapes and create your own presets, but with just the stock presets that come with it, there are a lot of great ones, and they'll provide usually like 4 different variations. So you have like just a basic, mono, whatever it was, like it's coming right out of the Mellotron, and then there'll be a few variations like hard pan with slight vibrato on one, so it kind of creates more of like a stereo feel to it, or like with a slower attack with the envelopes. And so, right away, before you've even tweaked anything, there's quite a few different variations that sound really good and will. Yeah. I mean, because if you use that basic one, it's very, it's mono. It sounds like they did on the old recordings. But if you want to try to bring it into a little more of a modern context, but still have that kind of funny attack and the EQ spectrum that it has, it's still there, but in a wider field.
Yeah. It's such a versatile thing. Which is odd because it's such a limited thing, It's kind of it's a paradox wrapped up in a white box that's often pushed by Rick Wakeman to the top of a hill and set on fire. So the legend goes. So there you go. That's the Streetly Tapes Volume 5, currently half price at 25 UK pounds, normally 50 or 49.99, should we say? For both Mac and PC for the M-Tron Pro, and you can only download that if you are a registered user of so because it's samples and stuff, isn't it? So there we go. Let's move on and do a couple of things from Roland that aren't synthesizers per se, which I've got like an interest in one of them. Let's do that one first. So this is the news that Roland have created another variation of their classic V-Drum kit, but this is now V-Drum Acoustic design. So they're still electronic drums, but they come in the same form factor as acoustic drums. Some of them are half shells, most of them are full shells, and that includes the kick, the snare, the toms. Everything's there, and of course it's just it's the same triggering system underneath the mesh heads, which they're very well known for, all hooked up to a TD brain, which is a great brain on its own. But I was just thinking about this as a drummer and as an E drummer. Why would I want to forego the convenience of having real head drum pads at full depth shells? Because one of the great things about my drum kit is that I've got it packed, albeit it's about a metre and a half long, but all my drums are in this one bag, and then I've just got a frame that I just pull up and then fold out, and that's it, and just plump them on. So why would you want? I just don't get this. And of course they're going to be charging the earth for this because Roland V drums are notoriously expensive.
But how would you feel about that look on stage, though? If you were drumming for a live band, would you prefer to have that wooden shell look or the little thin pads? Well, would it bother you?
No, it has done. I remember before I had because I've got an Alesis Crimson kit, so it's kind of full size shells. They're about 3 or 4 inches deep, with the mesh heads on top, and that looks okay. But it still looks like an E-drum kit. But before that, I had a Yamaha DTX something or other, and this was like I think I bought that sort of late 90s, early noughties, and it had just the rubber pads. and they were all the same 7-inch rubber pads. So the snare was the same size as the toms, and it just looked odd. And I've seen pictures of me playing gigs, and it just looks odd. And yes, there is something to be said for the look.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't want to give, I can just see if I bought a kit like that 5-piece that was just there with the full depth shells, I'd be back to wanting a van to cart my drums around rather than just throwing in onto the back seat of my car, which is a beautiful convenience. So I don't know.
I think they got it dead right when they did the shallow depth shells.
Yeah,
because it looked right and it's still portable. It's lighter, and if you're going to go to full depth shells, are you getting anything more than you would do by having MIDI triggers on them? Or?
No, there's no. The depth of the shell has to do with the resonance of the drum, but that doesn't come into play with electronic triggers. It's purely a looks thing.
Yeah. But there's maybe a difference between the very lower line, like the real rubbery black pads, versus the upper end stuff. So we've got a Roland V drum kit. It's my wife's, and it's the more portable one. And so, it's not the greatest thing to play on for drums. But like you said, it's very compact. It fit in the trunk of a compact car, and it's easy to take around. But then she's also been able to use like the $7,500 Roland V. I mean, the top of the line one that not ours, but somebody else's, and has had some experience on that. It's a great playing experience. It's not the full depth ones. It's the shallow ones, but that look like, a little more drumish. Yeah. But they have the better feel to them. But I think this is kind of the drummer equivalent of, you can show up to a gig with an Axe FX or a Kemper and go straight into the house as a guitar player, but there's something cool about having a big amp on the stage behind you. Yeah. But it would be a lot like, showing up, unloading your 412 cabinets, like lugging those, 106-pound cabinets around at a Mesa Boogie extra tall recto cab that was, it was like over 100 pounds. And like, it's like, why don't I want to carry this to gigs? I don't need this. I could do it with a 212 just fine. Yeah. But it's the look, so I guess it comes down to like...
Yeah, I used to gig with a V-Synth GT and a Virus TI on top. And then I went to the main stage setup, which was exactly the same sounds because I sampled it all. Yeah. But I had 2 thin controller keyboards, and it took me ages to feel comfortable on stage again. Because these big synths had gone from in front of me, just had these little thin keyboards, and I was like, it was like I'd gone on in my underpants or something, it just didn't feel right.
But there is that. There is definitely a thing about the presence, and that's you can see in the blurb there is the presence of acoustic drums. Yeah. So I kind of get that thing where if you're on stage and you're playing a drum kit, it's good if it looks like a really nice drum kit, and that's fair enough. I must say, my kit has got the same amount of items. So it has the kick, a floor tom, 2 mounted toms, a snare, a hi-hat, a few cymbals, and it's an Alesis, and it has the mesh head. So they're as good as the Rolands for playing on and for triggering. My only quibble with it when I bought it was because the snare is literally 3 or 4 inches deep, and it sits on a regular snare stand. It's actually lower, and I can't raise it up. So I missed the height. And luckily, I'm going to try and do it next year. Unfortunately, because postage charges, it's always quite expensive to do. But there's a guy in Canada who makes e-drum drums, like full depth, and mostly he does snares. But you can use them any way you want. But it's you can have a custom design around the edge as well. But it's just basically the same as any of these e-drums. But he puts them in a standard snare shell. And I'm thinking about just upgrading the snare so that I've got a full height snare, because that's quite important. But the toms, you can have them at any height or anything like that. But and again, the TD, the drum brains on these are very, very good. But nowadays, with Superior Drummer and a laptop, you can sound way better than one of these. So it really is. I think this is very. It's nice and pretty, but I don't think it's not for me.
I think the reputation, like, oh, it's an electronic drum kit and it doesn't feel the same, but actually the usefulness of them live has been quite useful, especially when you're gigging in places where you have a very live sound on stage, or even the room is very live and you need to have it controlled. I mean, this makes such a huge difference. And you're already feeding a sound to the soundboard that is consistent every time you do it. You can have compression and reverb, and hopefully the sound man doesn't mess it up beyond that. But it does make things quite a lot easier to control stage volume.
Well, when I first started... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, when I first started playing E-drums, the first thing that I thought is, I can trigger any sound. And so anything that required anything that wasn't a drum sound, I could trigger from my kit and have it as a save a kit for a particular song, and that was just great. That I could change the tonality of the kit to suit the song. So if we were doing like a Zeppelin cover, it was a different kit to if we were doing a Blur cover or something like that. So it was great to have that flexibility. But
what kind of band was this?
It was a covers band. It was just a covers band, and we
Blur. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe not consecutively, but certainly everybody's got to do Stairway to Heaven at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, Chris, you were saying.
Oh, I was just thinking too. It just kind of reminded me. The drummer, I can't remember his name, Dominic from Muse, uses kind of a mixed kit, or he'll have two different kits on stage and switch between like a standard acoustic drum sound. But then sometimes it's like a drum machine sound, like an 808 or whatever, and be able to use those, but then have the feel of a live drummer with those classic drum machine tones. And my wife would do this too, where she had a main kit that she had set up and programmed on the module, but a click over was like an 808 or whatever other kind of kit that you can just immediately switch sounds to.
Yeah.
But sorry, Robbie.
No.
I was just going to say, how bizarre is it going to look with this like traditional looking deep shelled kit and 808 sounds coming out of it?
Well, that's not terribly uncommon though, because as Chris said, a lot of drummers will have an acoustic kit, but they'll have triggers mounted on the rims. And then they have that going to... And so Craig Blundell, who is an absolutely phenomenal drummer, ex-Royal Marines drummer, now like the go-to prog drummer in the world probably, he has this massive kit, but he's also a Roland clinic guy. And so every drum... he's got everything that Roland have done. He's got a V-drum kit at home that he practices on, but... Every drum in his acoustic kit has got a Roland trigger on that goes down to one of the big, TD drum brains, and so he combines electronic sounds with acoustic sounds, and it works really well. The only guy I know is Stephen Morris from New Order. So when New Order play live, he has a big, or I think he still does, but he used to have a nice big V drum kit on stage, and Scritti Politti. So Rob Smorton, who plays drums when Scritti Politti play live, he has a smaller TD kit. And I just think that the only reason we don't see so many of them is purely because of this, because of the look, that it just looks a bit weedy, and you've got to, maybe it's a macho thing. I don't know.
It's one of them.
Go ahead, Ben.
No, it's okay, Chris. Go on.
I was like, do you think it would be an interesting strategy in 2021 or something to go back to like an unapologetically electronic drum look like the Hex drums then?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I was just going to say, like, it's one of them instances where it's like progression in technology has actually increased the size of something.
I know, yeah.
Usually something goes smaller, doesn't it, with every iteration?
Yeah. I mean, that was the pattern with E-drums. They had those iconic hexagonal, and then all the other companies came along with slightly different angular looking things. And then they just got smaller and smaller, and it was just like, oh wow, you can have a pad that's 5 or 7 inches across, but it has any sound you want underneath it. And then there's this bounce back towards full size shells with rim triggers and multi-zone pads in the middle, and a little bit of shell depth. The Alesis Strike Pro, which is one that I wouldn't mind going to. that has these kind of half depth shells, and that doesn't look that's kind of a happy medium. But these, I like the look of them, but they're going to charge the earth just purely because of the way it looks, which I guess Roland get away with it. So hey, Anyway, and Roland have actually got some other stuff available that's launched this week. This is the Aerophone Pro. I think they've already had an Aerophone before, but this is the new Pro one. And this is another MIDI wind control, a digital wind instrument which has built-in sounds and everything. It just looks rather large. Again, wind controllers have gone from the EWI Acais, which have been very nice and sleek and slender, and they're now starting to bulk out again. It's like they've been on steroids. I mean, you can see it here. In comparison to a human, it's quite a large thing to have. Oh, here comes my G&T. Thank you, darling.
Very nice.
Thank you. But it's quite an ugly looking thing. However, I'm kind of
it's
fond
a bit
of this.
rude. She's just passed you a G&C.
I know. But I was just saying it's like the wind controller is making a bit of a comeback.
Yeah.
Not massively, but it's kind of it's blend. It's coming. It's just there's some new Akai ones, and there's the people that did the Anima Fi or Anima Fi or whatever it's called. They do one as well.
That like Vuvuzela kind of looking.
Yeah, it looks like a Vuvuzela, exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
But it does seem that the wind controller is making a bit of a comeback. So yeah. And yeah, as Synth Addict has just put in here, you got the old Yamaha WX5 as well, which is quite a nice thing if you've got it hooked up to the right instrument. But it's an interesting thing. It just looks a bit odd, but I do like a nice little wind controller. That's quite nice. So, thoughts on this, guys?
Aaron says that'd fit in right in at Mos Eisley.
Yeah, it would. Yeah. That's
usually like a blue elephant playing it.
Yeah, he's got a name. My son keeps. Oh yeah, he prides himself on knowing like all the names of all the characters. And he said, one of his questions, what's the name of the guy that plays the things? Sits in the circle. He's even got the figure of it. Yeah, I can't remember. But yes, any thoughts on wind controllers? Does anybody play the wind controller like this?
I'm just a bit puzzled as why there was kind of a bit of a scene for this going on. Like what was it? The late 80s, early 90s, and then it's just kind of vanished a bit and resurfaced lately. I don't know what's brought that about. Has there been a bump in technology?
I don't know.
Something changed?
I think everything just sort of goes around, comes around, doesn't it? But
yeah. But
was it Joe Zawinul? Was he? I know he used to do a lot of different things, but there was a thing, like you say. And who's the other guy who long curly hair, late 80s, early 90s? Kenny G, that's the one. I know he used to play. I've seen him play stuff like that.
Yeah, they missed a trick there, Roland, didn't they? They've got like a normal drum kit in the background. They should have had one of their own.
This is very true. This is very true.
No, that's the vintage edition, and they'll charge you $15,000 for it.
Do you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. That they release different colour shells.
They did it.
Yeah, that isn't one.
That's definitely not one.
Well, no, because in that picture he's got a TD brain there. Or we might have just discovered one of those hidden product placement things.
Yeah, you shouldn't need to mic up an electronic drum kit, should you?
Yeah, but have you seen that classic meme where you've got it's like a Roland Octopad or something, and then the engineers put a microphone above it?
Or there's also the other one where there's like a Marshall stack, and they've mic'd the head, not the cabinet.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, there you go. That's the Aerophone Pro. I mean, I don't think none of us are experts on these, but it's interesting to see that that these. I wonder maybe if one of the reasons it's come back is now that we have wireless connections, because before you used to have to be tethered, didn't you? Through a MIDI cable, and there was power and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Nowadays, these things come with lithium-ion battery cells and wireless, Bluetooth or Wi-Fi connections to connect to whatever you want to. So
that could be it. Yeah, that could be the reason for it resurfacing.
And because we speak about Yamaha doing something a few months ago that looked really kind of odd because it had its own speaker. And that was the Akai, that was, wasn't it? But I know Yamaha have got something else as well. So there does seem to be a bit of a resurgence there in those sorts of things. Okay, well that's the Roland news out of the way. How about we have a look at this guy? Now I have to say, because Cryss brought this up in the in our kind of topic discussion that we have before we come on air, or during the week before. And my comment to Cryss was, whenever I see this guy, my scrotum tends to crawl back up inside my body. I don't mean that nastily. It's just that you see so much of him, and I really just don't necessarily like the stuff that he does. However, Andrew Huang has a new app. It's called Flip Sampler, and it's available on iOS for $9.99. And it comes with a whole range of in-app purchases. But probably the best thing to do, rather than show you the App Store screen, even get my words the right way around. How about we show you the video itself? Let's do that here. So yeah, there you go. That's Andrew Huang's Flip Sampler app, available on iOS. It kind of does what most of these iOS music making apps do. Is it makes it very simple. Lots of heavily sample based, kind of MPC style pads and things that are going on in there, and then this little mixer. But this actually, I was watching the video, and it seemed like really instant, intuitive. And of course, you can sample your own sounds into it. The sampling editing is very cool. It's very quick and immediate, and there's no messing around. It's just like, throw a sound in, trim it to what you want to, then it's in and it's ready to go, and you can throw it through effects. It seems really, really simple. I've fallen out of love with mobile music making. I got on early and just didn't really get on with it. But I'm going to hand this over to Cryss, seeing as you threw this on the list. What do you think?
Yeah, he's an interesting guy, and I see, where I'm on the younger side of Gen X, and there's not that many years between me and him, but I see there's a different generational thing happening with music making, and so it is a little bit interesting to watch how it happens for other people and how millennials are doing it. Just I'm making broad generalizations because sometimes there'll be older people doing mobile music or younger people doing it old school or whatever. But one of the interesting things about this app is on his demonstration of it, it's it kind of looks like, from just the little clip that we played, it's like, oh, this is a little music studio, and it is. But he really was stressing the fact of that it's for making your own samples, and so using your phone or your mobile device to go out, find some sound that just like we would do the found sound type of sampling, but instead of us grabbing our mobile recorder, grabbing the sound, loading onto our computer, doing it in our DAW and whatnot, this app does it all on your phone for you, and you can go through and edit everything. Again, I don't prefer having a mobile workflow. I don't have an iPad. I have an iPhone. I have some software apps on it, but I don't really like that workflow. But I thought for people that do, this is kind of an interesting software, and I'm sure that this is going to be really popular amongst mobile musicians.
Yeah, definitely. And anything that kind of gets people out there sampling found sounds, doing that, creating new sounds to play with, rather than just, I hate these apps where they provide all the stuff for you and it's just like, it's like painting by numbers, isn't it? It's really horrible. But yeah, I mean, Ben, is this something you would go for?
Yeah, I think I would. I think it's $9.99, isn't it? I think for $9.99, it'd be worth buying it, sticking it on your phone, just for that instance where you hear a sound when you're out and about, and you can capture it, you can edit it, and then you can use it straight away.
Yeah.
My only reservation about it is the quality of the microphone. You know, if I say recorded some gates clanging when I'm out and about, thinking it's the best sound I've ever heard, and I'm never going to get it again.
Yeah.
I've only got one crappy recording of it on my phone.
Yeah.
That sounds like it's been done down a pair of headphones.
Or you put one of those in your pocket,
Yeah,
and then just transfer it over.
but that's a lot more than $9.99.
Yeah,
It is.
but if you are using your phone or whatever, there are some other mobile microphones that just clamp onto it, and that might be something like if you're serious about like, oh, if I'm out and about, if I'm taking the train to work and I get off on a stop and there's some sound that I want to sample, like how hard is it to have a little microphone in your pocket that you clamp on and grab it?
Not at all, really. I think that could have like a massive impact on your music making as well, because instead of like a sound jumping out at you and you're thinking, oh God, I should do something with that, you'd be listening for these sounds all the time, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Because you've got the potential to just capture them, take them home and use them in your music. So I think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd use the inbuilt sequences and that. I don't think I'd be bothered with any of that, but as a capture device, definitely. Sorry, Chris.
Hey, or talking about microphone quality, in 2055, they're going to release the app that models the 2018 iPhone mic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go retro with this app.
That'll be GForce doing it.
Yeah. And like everybody wants this like degradation in quality on the noise and quality mic that's in it.
We do it already, don't we? How many tape emulation plugins, and all that kind of stuff. We pay fortunes to recreate the stuff that we replace with the stuff that we're using now. It's bonkers, but yeah, it's I'll put my it's not a dislike. I just I'm not into what Andrew does, and I'm not disparaging anything. He's obviously very successful and very clever. Putting that aside, this is actually a rather cool little app, and for $9.99, you can't go wrong, can you? Really?
I think it's great. Yeah, I think it is.
So more power to him. And if you want it, it's in the App Store. I think it is exclusively iOS. So it's in the App Store. It's called a Flip Sampler, and is made by Suture Sound Inc. for $9.99. There are in-app purchases. I was trying to see what they were. Whether that's probably just sample packs. I think he was talking about because there's a Cuckoo sample pack. Andrew's done one himself. Pusher has done one. Chuck Sutton, and I guess more and more people will develop sample packs and throw those in as in-app purchases. So there you go. So I guess the big software news this week, as if nobody hadn't already heard about it, is the news that Arturia have launched V Collection. V Collection 8. I see the V and I just think Roman numerals 5. So V Collection 8 is out now. It's currently $499 for the full pack if you're not upgrading. If you are upgrading, depending on what you currently own, the upgrade price is different. So I've seen some people say, they want €200 from me. Some people say they want 149. I even saw someone that said, my upgrade's 99. So I don't quite know what's going on there. And there has been the usual stuff going on online about people moaning about Arturia's pricing, and we're not even going to get into that because it's just pointless. However, what does V Collection 8 add to the package, which is already an impressive package? So we get the June 6V, which is a Juno emulation. We get the Emulator 2V, which was the one that I knew was happening, but hadn't quite sort of seen what they were doing with it. So Emulator 2, we get the Vocoder V, and the OBX-A now comes into the V Collection package because previously it was only available separately. And then they've also updated the Dupe 8 to Dupe 8 V4, and Stage 73 is now Stage 73 V2. So those have both been updated, and there's a lot of buzz around that Jupiter saying it's a huge improvement. I've only kind of just been flicking through it, and I didn't dislike the old one, but this one does sound very nice. There's also a new version of Analog Lab, which is their kind of collection, or it's where you can access all of the stuff. It's increasingly more like main stage now. You can build up your packages of synths that you're going to use and the patches, and you can have all nice quick access. There are tabs for effects pedals and routing and all sorts of things. It's actually almost in a way it's slightly nicer than main stage. It's a lot simpler to navigate and go through. There's also this new thing called Patchworks, which contains hundreds of new and expertly curated patches that elevate V Collection synthesizers beyond their hardware predecessors. And they have improved the workflow. So if you go into all of these instruments, there's a new kind of workflow for the searching of patches and behind the scenes. So it's a nice thing to play with. I've had this for a few days now, and I must admit I've spent most of my time. I went straight to the emulator too because surprise, and it's nice. I actually think it sounds a little too nice. Even on the vintage setting, it just sounded a little bit too nice. However, it is lovely to have that in plug-in form with all of those sounds. The one that really has surprised me in terms of me liking is that vocoder, which is a lot of fun. I know, Cryss, you were doing a comparison today yourself between this June 6V, the Tal Uno LX, and the Cloud Juno. So let's kick off with you. I mean, you want to talk about the whole thing, or the Juno comparison to start with? It's up to you.
So the only version of this that I've had was the version 6 that came out, I think, in 2017. And I thought it was a good idea, but I kind of have felt like some of the emulations were a little bit perhaps thin sounding. I mean, you could, if you sat and you worked with it, you could get something bigger and fuller out of it than what would be suggested by a preset. But some of the newer emulations, at least as far as the Collection 6, seemed a little bit better, like the Buchla. I passed on 7, which I can't remember what that brought. It brought the Mellotron and the CZ, the Casio CZ, and something else I don't remember.
I think it was the DX, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the Fairlight and the DX as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, that was from 6 because I had
was
those.
Oh, blimey.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I've lost.
So like the DX was fantastic, and the Fairlight I got a lot of use out of. But it was always kind of like, there's better out there. So when this came out, and it was expensive to do the upgrade, the difference in upgrade prices are depending on if you have the last version or a previous version, or if you bought the OBX when it came out. So mine was a little more expensive because I hadn't done any of that. But I was like, it's time. It's been a couple of years. I'm looking forward to this new stuff. The Roland Cloud Jupiter I thought was much better sounding than the Arturia one. So I was like, let's hear how this new one sounds. So I think Aaron had asked about the modeling. Yeah, the Jupiter and the Rhodes have been completely redone. And the Jupiter, even though it's not one of the new ones, it's fantastic, and it sounds really good. So I've been playing through these, and I don't have any of the experience with an emulator that you do, Robbie. So I thought it sounded fantastic. I wouldn't know how accurate it is, and you could speak to that a lot more. But the area that I'd probably be more familiar with were those Roland ones. So I've played through the new stuff, and I really liked it. Even got to go and play through version 7 stuff that I didn't have, like the Casio CZ. But yesterday I took the June 6V, which is modeled on a Juno 6. I took the Tal, which is modeled on a Juno 60, Roland Cloud, which is a 106, and then also I have a 1985 106. And kind of just had a play around. It was pretty casual and just fun just to kind of compare them, see what they sounded like, what were the differences. And these emulations have gotten really good. I mean, they fall along the lines of the exact version of the Juno that they're emulating. And that's kind of an important thing because 106 sounds different than the 6 and 60. I mean, those sound much closer together. So Out of all of them, though, the Arturia sounded very good. It sounds like a 6, and so it has a little bit different sound than what my 106 has, where I find that the 6 and 60 is a little bit grainier sounding. It doesn't sound like a Jupiter, but it's like a tick in that direction versus a 106 would be, to me, like a tick in the direction of the JX8P or 3P or the Alpha Junos. Like, they're a little bit softer, hazier, but very full on the low end, whereas the 6 and 60 are a little bit grainier, sound great with some pluck sounds. And so I'm very pleased with the sounds of this new collection, and it was kind of tough to stomach the cost of it, and I wish especially for repeat buyers, that had been upgrading their collection, like, they could do a bit better on the price.
Yeah.
But I'm really pleased, and I think some of the other emulations, like, if I would be astonished if the Prophet was not updated in the next collection, especially after the 5 and 10 have come out again.
Yeah. That
I would expect that one's kind of, again, one of those where I would pass it up in favor of Yuhi's Repro 5 for sure.
I really like the fact they've put the vocoder in there, because that I didn't see that coming. I thought, they've got a whole bunch of stuff that they could possibly do, and I didn't see the vocoder. And I know that there are other, software vocoding, plugins or instruments out there, but that one is just, I really, really like it, and it just, I've never considered getting a vocoder. It's not really in my wish list. However, that was a lot of fun. Really
I totally agree. Like, that was not one, when I saw the list, I'm like, damn. Like, I don't care about that at all.
Yeah.
But they've done it really well. And if I need some vocoder sounds, I'm going to pass up hardware and software alike and use that. Yeah. And it was kind of cool what they did with the sample input to it.
Yes. Yeah. It's very clever. It's done. They've done it really, really well. They've thought about that one clearly. I mean, talking about the emulator too, that was the one that I thought, because definitely interested in that. I'm always a bit wary about software emulations of old samplers, because the whole thing with an old sampler that people like is the shitty nature of the audio output and the converters. And when you're running it through a modern day computer, you've got to then mess around with it to make it bad again. And I'd say when I started playing through it, I'm more familiar with the Emacs, which is obviously, it has digital filters, but they're really good digital filters. But it's more like an emulator 2 than it isn't. And so sort of listening to sounds, I did pick out some classic, string sounds and that. And the Emacs just sounded a little more authentic than on the emulator 2 plugin. However, that said, those sounds are brilliant sounds, and when you're going through the library there and you pick out all those classics, that it's nice to have. And if you haven't got those already, then this is going to be a great tool for you.
How did you like?
Oh, sorry.
Just a question for you,
yeah.
Robbie. So they have all the classic sounds, and that's fun. And especially we just got that, or I just got the PPG Wave app, and I know you've had that for a while. So there's the emulator and the PPG, which I don't really have much experience with, and so those have been fun to pick out those classic sounds. But some of the sounds that I liked out of this emulator one, I can't remember the sound designer. It was one particular sound designer that is in the presets on the emulator doing a bunch of modern ambient sounds, they're kind of dirty pads, and I thought those sounded really good. I don't know, what were your thoughts on those?
It's funny because I was looking through the library there, and I was saying, those are clearly factory sounds, or came with the factory library. And unlike the Fairlight, the emulator library was one of these kind of evolving things. There was never a definitive version of it. However, I was going through and listening to some of these patches, and probably some of the ones that you pointed out there, and thinking, where are these just new samples that they've put through the software, or have they somehow dug up somebody's old emulator 2 library and started doing it? And then I thought, well, if they're just new samples, then what's the point of putting them through this when you can stick them into sampler in Logic or something and then just put them through a bit crushing thing to get that crunchiness. And so I was kind of thinking, well, it's a little bit pointless, but at the same time, it's a big collection of sounds that you can play with, and bottom line is, if they work for you, they work for you, and it doesn't really matter where they're coming from. So, Ben, are you a V Collection user?
I am, but I'm the odd one out here because I'm the only one that hasn't upgraded to 8. So I'm listening to all these things and thinking, oh god, I wish I had a bit of spare cash at the minute. But one of my biggest problems with 7 was the Jupiter 8. I thought it was not. It's not a bad little synth, but it didn't sound like a Jupiter 8 in any way, shape, or form to me. It sounded like a decent polysynth. So I'm quite pleased to hear that they've redone that, and hopefully, by all accounts, from what I can hear,
from the ground up, it is markedly different.
Yeah. It does sound a bit more authentic. But what I was wondering is, even though I didn't really like it that much, I did program a load of sounds for it. And how are they going to transfer over? Are they just going to transfer over and sound exactly the same? Or are they going to be improved? Or
so
how would that work?
One of the things that they've done is they've made the new Analog Lab 5 a separate installation to 4.
Right.
So you can keep 4, and the Jupiter version 3 shows up on my computer as well as the Jupiter version 4. So I think I have read, I can't remember how much it is exactly, but it's around 600 or 6,500 presets that were on Analog Lab 4, the previous version. And now there's only about 2,000 on the new version. And so what Arturia has responded is like, we've narrowed everything down. There was a lot that we just eliminated because they weren't up to our standards anymore. There were some patches that were redone for the newer modeling. And then they've added some new ones on top of that. But they do allow you to access the older stuffs, and you can bring in whatever you want. So if you upgrade, you can either play your original patches in your original Jupiter V3, or I think you might be able to I haven't done this yet, so I'm not sure on the details of it, but I think you can bring them into Analog Lab 5 and use them with the new one.
Yeah. That's one thing that Arturia have done every time they've upgraded V Collection, is that if stuff has been, like, there's the B3, so I've still got B3V, and I've now got B3V2. Same with Jupiter 8 V3. I've even somewhere, I think I've got a folder of earlier versions that, so they don't completely wipe out everything. And same with Analog Lab. It's now you can have both of them on there. So if you've got a whole bunch of stuff, you can keep using that. And then I guess if you want to then bring it into 5, you can do that and take advantage of anything that's new there. I still have Spark. I still have the Spark plugin, which was dropped from V Collection, I don't know how many versions ago. So, and they with version, was it 4 to 5 or 5 to 6? They did a preset updater or something. They released a little thing that you could update your old presets into the new. So I was surprised they didn't do that for this one, but that's been one of the things that I've heard shouted about, is that the preset numbers had dropped and what have you. But anyway,
and can you sample into the emulator? Can you assign audio inputs to it and sample things into it?
You can import stuff and then process it, but so I guess if you want to call that sampling, it does that, but it's not the
so something I haven't done that maybe you have is, like, I've read, and I said I just have got this, so I haven't tried it, but like on the M-Tron software, you can import your own samples for that, and it mellotronizes whatever you put into it, which is kind of a cool idea.
Yeah.
So I imagine it'd be kind of the same thing for the emulator, the Fairlight, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm just looking at the chat here about factory libraries and stuff. So, one of the things that I often come across is with the Fairlights, more than the emulators, because I have more experience with those, is that people want the classic Fairlight sounds. they want those, library sounds that were used all over, stuff, in a particular decade. And I've listened to non-factory libraries, and they're very personal, just like any kind of patch collection would be for any synth. But people that want to buy Fairlight plugins or emulator plugins, one of their main drivers is to have access to all of those sounds. The other one is to be able to sample and put it through that technology to get the grittiness, the graininess, the character, the sonic character, or the coloration, if you will. So it'd be interesting to see if they release any more kind of famous banks of, because there was some, particularly with the emulator, there was huge numbers of curated banks from the Burma banks are some of the most well-known ones, and there's a whole bunch of others whose names escape me right now.
I remember I was recording singles years ago, and we hired in an emulator, and it came in 3 large flight cases on wheels.
Yeah.
And 2 of the flight cases were just discs.
Yeah.
But the library, there was tons and tons of stuff. Sorry.
And again, I've got crates downstairs full of 8-inch floppy disks and data streaming cassettes, and it's crazy. Nowadays you think you can just stick it all on a tiny little thumb drive and that's it. In fact, probably everything I've got in my garage would fit on that. It's ridiculous, but there you go, that's technology. Just to answer some questions in the chat room, so there was my friend Graham says, that's a lovely picture. I've never seen that picture close up before, Graham. Graham asked, was there ever a definitive Fairlight library? Well, yes and no, because they did issue a factory library, but every time they issued or sold a Fairlight, they issued what that factory library was at that time, which might have been enhanced since the last time. It wasn't like nowadays you have like definitive set patch libraries or sample libraries. It was always slightly modified or different, and somebody would sample something and send it back to Fairlight and say, oh, look what I did, and it would just find its way into the library, and that was that. So yes and no is probably the answer to that question. But yeah, it was always an evolving organic thing, and I sometimes, when I get a Fairlight in here, I'll go through the libraries and then I'll find something that was never on any other machine, but it's in the factory folders or whatever, so it's quite an interesting historical dig when you go through some of those. But yeah, there you go, that's Arturia with... Anybody, have you got any comments on any of the other improvements there? Most of it is pretty much the same.
One other thing is like pigments is an interesting case, and it's interesting to see what Arturia is doing, because when it first came out, I bought that first version. They had it like on a discount, like $60-something or something, and I played through it. I was like, crap, I just wasted $69 or whatever it was. Like, this is not that great. It looks beautiful, but this is not something I'm ever going to use. It is lifeless.
Yeah.
And then to their credit, like once version 2 came out, it became a really impressive synthesizer, and it's nice to use. It has so many different types of synthesis in it. The last thing I was playing around with is I imported some samples that I made here in the room just off my microphone, and then I put it into its granular oscillator or whatever they call it in there, and played around with it, and then just created an entire patch out of that. And the interface is beautiful on it, but the sound engine, it seems like they have really worked on, and that's become a very useful synthesizer. It's a shame I'm not using it more yet, but a lot of respect to the work that they've done in the last couple of years, because it seems like where when I first started using their stuff, it was like, this is a nice deal. You want to try a spectrum of classic synthesizers, but they're maybe not the greatest. Here's a way to do it. And a lot of times, as I said before, like if somebody was getting into guitar, instead of buying a Marshall or a Fender, like go get yourself a little Line 6 and then kind of see what general flavor you want, and then get the one that you want. Exactly. But I think this is changing a lot of the game for them. And there was a comment made on my post about like, I don't remember how it went, but it was something like, these aren't the right tools to make music, and I have to really disagree with it, because I've got a vintage Juno here, and it sounds amazing, and it's gorgeous, and it just fits into the track perfectly. I don't have to mess with it. But also these tools like the Roland Cloud and the Arturia are so fantastically easy to use, and you spend a couple minutes with them and they sound great too. And so this is something that is going to give, I think, in the future much more pause for buying hardware when some software sounds good. And now it doesn't have the same feeling of you sitting and working on a big panel like something like this does. But the tools are so good, and if it's really about making music, then I'm finding that a lot of these, I don't have to have space taken up. I can be a lot more choosy with my hardware now. There's still hardware I'm buying. I just bought a synthesizer, but yeah, this is great. I don't have to worry about buying a PPG or a clone or anything like that. It's like, this does it for me.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I desperately want the PPG, and I desperately want the E2 eventually, and hopefully one day I'll have one or t'other. But I'm not lacking in those departments, So and until I find myself in a position, then these will absolutely do very, very nicely. Do you know, one thing that this made me think of this week is, I'm going to put this out there, and you guys in the chat room can throw in your opinions as well. Is France now becoming the most innovative centre for synthesizer design and production in all aspects? Because if you think about it, we've got Arturia, who not only masters at doing these kinds of things, but also Polybrute, Matrix Brute, and all the other things that they've the drum brutes and all of that kind of stuff. And what's that one with the touch surface? I can't remember the name now. Micro something brutish. I don't know. Anyway,
Microfreak.
Microfreak, that's the one. So you got loads of that stuff. You've got Kodamo doing their stuff. You've got who is it? The Mega FM. Twisted. Is it Twisted Electrons? He's English, but he's based in France. And there seems to be a huge, or sorry, not a huge, a steadily increasing number of French. The Anima Phi that we spoke about last week. That's French. So. I don't know. It just made me think France seems to be up and coming in the synthesizer world.
Andrew just mentioned the River, which is made by Ballarat,
I
believe.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's another big, expensive polysynth, analog polysynth.
Yep.
Where's Osmos?
That's a good point.
Where are they based out of?
That's a very good point. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah. Yeah, that could be another one. But it just seems that every kind of new innovative thing, well, not every, but a lot of new innovative things are coming out of France, which is nice to see. Someone else coming. There must be something in the water, in the Evian, somewhere. Just thought, just my thoughts. There you go. So Wagyu has confirmed that Osmos is French as well. Yeah. So. Good. And of course, the Ohm people, Force Ohm, or whatever they're called, they're French. Yeah, and I wonder if it's because what does it say here? Exil's founded by ex-Arturia people. So I wonder sometimes if it is that thing where you have a company that makes it and starts getting big, and then other people start to leave and do their own thing, but of course they're doing it in their own in the same region. So France, that's where it's at.
Yeah, well, I've been learning French for the past 6 months, so
well, there you go.
I'm set up to go straight over there.
Off you trot, but quick, because you've only got a couple of weeks before you're going to need a visa. And actually, according to something I read the other day, from January 1st, because of travel restrictions, we'll be banned from going to Europe at all. For the foreseeable future. God, it's a mess, but we don't do politics on this.
Hey, as far as I'm concerned, our southern neighbor, Mexico, has such a great food that I don't even care if they make synthesizers, as long as the food keeps coming our way.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more there. Could not agree more. Now, of course, one of the other... I've forgotten, and I've just been reminded by myself here. Another French company, of course, is UVI. And
all right, I didn't know they were French.
Just completely forgot. So UVI have a new package, shall we call it, Program 24, which is based on a couple of old instruments by Sultan. and it's a little keyboard and a little programmer, and they've taken this as an inspiration for this kind of I don't know. It's yes, it's an instrument. It's all sample based, but it has a whole bunch of kind of song building features, rhythm building features. Celebration of 80s electronic disco and soul. Program 24 delivers the outstanding sounds of the obscure, delivering a suite of capable instruments perfect for adding some vintage charm. Now, I looked through this, and I'm a big fan of UVI, and I like a lot of what they do, but this just felt too much like music by numbers. That it was kind of... I mean, you can obviously shape your own arpeggios and stuff. There is a good degree of customization in there, but it didn't feel that innovative, shall we say. And then I looked at the price, and it's currently on offer at €49. I thought, oh, well, for that, then yeah, I kind of get it. And some of the stuff I was hearing from it is nice. It's slightly derivative, but it's nice. Full price is normally €79, so I should point that out, that it goes up tomorrow. So hurry up if you want to get this at €49. Hurry up.
You got to get it now.
Yeah. I don't know whether it's the beginning of tomorrow or the end of tomorrow. Ben, what did you think of Program 24?
I get what you're saying with it, but I like it. There's that demo by what's his name? On the site, there's a demo by that. What's he called himself? Dr. Mix or something like that.
Oh yes, yep. Claudio.
Yeah, he does a demo on it, and you can see that he's using the real thing. Sorry, it's not the software. It's the hardware. He's using it, and you can see he's absolutely buzzing. He's got a vocoder set up to his right, and he's got all these. Because what this does, that it kind of does also accompaniments, doesn't it? In a disco kind of synth disco way, and I actually like that sound. I think it sounds great. And he looked as though he was having a great time, I thought.
Yeah, let's just play the trailer for everyone. It's quite kind of fun. So there you go.
I just wonder with that, right? They just did that.
Turn it off.
They released that synth anthology thing, haven't they? And I bought that. Well, they had like loads of classic gear lying around, and they sampled everything. I wonder whether this was originally intended to be part of that collection, and
it could be.
They just thought it's strong enough on its own as a individual product.
Yeah.
I think as a generating inspiration kind of thing, it might be quite good.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're coming up with chords and you've got no accompaniment whatsoever. And then if you do use something that generates some kind of accompaniment, it's usually awful.
Yeah.
So like that kind of works in the area that like my own original compositions are. So I put everybody off. I've gone down to no subscriptions on my YouTube channel now. But I do like that kind of sound to play around with. So
I used to have a Yamaha RM1X, the desktop sequencer, which had a load of it was kind of dance oriented thing. And the thing I liked to do most of that was to take all of their kind of preset stuff and then just mess around with it and kind of get inspired. And then when I got something I thought, oh yeah, I like that, then I'd try and go and recreate it somewhere. But it's good. It's just good fun for just messing around. And I guess this maybe ticks that box. I get the impression, Chris, this might not be up your street, or am I making a wrong assumption there?
Yeah, probably not. But I think for the kind of tool it is, I can see how it'd be useful. and, like what Ben was saying, and a lot of these things, as I look at plugins, and we've just kind of gone through like a major season from late summer through Black Friday. Now we're on to Christmas of plugin sales. A lot of times these things are not something that we need, but they may be just the packaging of that type of thing that inspires us. So it's like, do I need another compressor? No, I don't. But I was looking at another one the other day. Like, why am I looking at a compressor? Well, but its workflow is nice, and I like the way it sounded, and or there's just some other programs like, I could already do all that stuff in my DAW, but I'd have to set up all these different effects and chains and modulations, and this plugin gets me into it real quick and gets me making music. Because sometimes that's just the thing that we need, is to have something that fits our workflow, and maybe it's not the other 5 whatever delays that we have, but the 6th delay that you buy is the one that, like, yes, that just resonates with me.
Sorry, I was just taking a swig of my drink there. I think it's very true. I don't know. I'm kind of tempted to pick this up just for the fun. It's not a huge amount of money to lose if you don't like it, but there's nothing that UVI have done that I really don't like at all. And they have done similar things before with some of their sample packs, where you can manipulate these kinds of things with kind of preset pattern-y type stuff, or you can do your own thing. But it's an interesting thing. So there you go.
Sorry, there's an opportunity to win the actual hardware as well in a
So Dr. Mix is doing that, isn't he, on his channel?
He's doing it with UVI. They've sent him the hardware, and
I think they've, because I think when they when was it? It was it was when they did the FM stuff. He borrowed a DX1 off of them, and he did a couple of videos with the DX1. I think he has a relationship with them. Which obviously he's got a huge amount of viewers and subscribers, so that kind of warrants it. But talking of other French things, I pulled the trigger on an Essence FM Mark II yesterday. I'm super excited, but also super scared that I've just spent a ridiculous amount of money just around Christmas time, but it's going to be a juggling of credit cards and things to get that one sorted. But I'm so excited. I don't know if I can wait till February now, but I'm looking forward to that. So supporting French synthesis from another angle there. Right, shall we? I'll tell you what. Shall we do our poll discussions, our weekly poll discussion? Let's bring that screen up. So as we're getting towards the end of the year, we thought, why be different from anywhere else? Let's do a kind of a best of thing. So we had a chat about this a few days ago. We said, well, we'll do a best this or a best that, and we ended up coming up with like 3 or 4 things, and we asked the first 2 in the weekly poll discussion. So we asked you a couple of questions. First of all, let me just make sure that I've got the right page. And yes, we have. Right. Okay. So here we go. So the first question was, what is your favourite new plugin effect of 2020 and why? So I think the outright winner there, not by a huge amount, is Valhalla Supermassive. Maybe because it's free, maybe because it's good, maybe both. Followed by the Arturia FX Collection, which is one that I haven't actually tried at all, so I couldn't comment on that one. IK Multimedia's Mixbox, which is one of the ones I voted for sure. Amplitude 5, Melodyne 5, Masterlab DynaQ, and Acoustic Audio Gain Station. They were the only ones that yielded any votes. So Neoverb, UVI Shade, the Eventide H9 series, Sine Vibes Albedo didn't get any votes at all. So the outright winner of that one is Valhalla Supermassive. Any surprises there?
Not for me. I think it's superb bit of free software. I use it like on probably everything I do now. It's in there at some point. So I think it's great. Yeah,
absolutely.
I like having it I
No,
like
go ahead.
having it loaded up on a track because it is a very versatile plugin. And so if I don't know what I'm going to be doing, or if I want to take a somewhat normal or vintage sound and kind of do something a little bit more ambient with it, the go-tos these days are, the Valhalla Supermassive and also the Sine Vibes Albedo. Both of those are fantastically good sounding.
Yeah, definitely. I really like the mix box. I thought that was a cracking little idea. And it's super flexible and just really easy to use, and just throw it into whatever channel you can. Yeah, it's just really nice. I think I said at the time when we talked about it that I kind of liked that reason rack nature. I think that's probably why I felt that was nice. But yeah, some good stuff. So there you go.
The Arturia one was particularly interesting to me. I don't have many of their effects. I have their Deluxe Memory Man because I'm a big Memory Man fan. But that single one, other than I think the free plate, was the only one that I had. But this collection was particularly interesting to me. Not so much the flanger, but you get a Dimension D, and then the M-Tron biphase. I had an original one. They're like just gigantic phase shifter, and I still have. Actually, I don't know if you guys can see it over there. I'm not sure if it's out of frame, but my Phasor 2. Yeah, it's right
Just
there.
Yeah.
Is my Phasor 2, which I love. And so, I do use that, but there is something nice about being able to put it on anything in your DAW, and also do stuff like tempo syncing where you have both of those LFOs, shifting around. It's nice to be able to sync stuff to your track.
Yeah. So no real surprises there, I guess. But of course, the next poll was slightly better attended. I guess it's because it's instruments and more people are going for that. So poll question number 2 was, what is your favourite new software plug-in synthesizer of 2020 and why? And it's only been out a week and it won Arturia V Collection 8 with 13 votes there. Chromophone 3 got 5 votes. I'm teetering on that one. I haven't made my mind up yet. But yeah, Chromophone 3 came in second, which I thought was a bit of a surprise because I thought some others would come in. For example, Cherry Audio's 2600 or UVI Anthology, which kind of slipped down there. Spitfire's Symphonic Motions. I went and put in. This just kind of demonstrates how time has become this thing we don't really understand anymore. During the lockdown period, I could have sworn BBC Symphony Orchestra was a 2020 release. But it wasn't. It was 2019. It's just like my head. I don't know. But Symphonic Motions was, and it only got 2 votes. One of those was me. I really like it because it makes me sound like an orchestra playing, which is really cool because it's great. And so Synapse Audio Obsession got 3 votes in third place. Then Symphonic Motions, Cherry Audio's 2600, UVI Anthology 3, Spitfire Audio's Albion Neo, Luftrum Bioscape, Slate and Ash Cycles, and then I put Opzilla. I was really impressed with that, particularly the pricing strategy on that one. Sonia Scoralition and Newfangled Audio Generate Pendulate. I'd forgotten about Pendulate because we talked that was the free one, wasn't it? And then Generate was the paid for one. Only Chris voted for that one. Soft Tube Model 72. It is, yeah. Vitals Wavetable Synthesizer. I haven't really dug into that one. I've got the free version, but and then of course picking up the rear, Roland Xenology.
Who voted for that?
Who voted for what?
Xenology.
That was Michael Adam from Germany. Yeah.
Okay.
So he obviously.
I'm kind of surprised by that. My opinions on it are well known, but I know that it's a useful tool for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I thought that Xenology would have ranked much higher, but it didn't.
Yeah.
And that's just, we have a very small sample group here.
This is true.
That poll was only done for a couple days.
Yeah. So we will be doing some more closer to the time where we'll be looking at hardware. So we'll throw those up. And I think that might generate a bit more response because I think people are more passionate about hardware, and I think in general most of our members are hardware. Again, you have to look behind us. We're all about hardware, or mostly about hardware. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. So we'll throw those up. So make sure, if you're not already, join up at the Facebook group, and then you can partake in those. And all you have to do is just answer these questions 3, and you shall be let in the front door, and you can partake in all of that.
With the newfangled generate, it's kind of one of the funny ones where people keep saying, we want something new and something that's different. And there it is.
Yeah.
And it's not really been that, super popular. Not a lot of people are talking about it.
No.
The people that have it enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's not for everybody. I'm not saying that. It's not versatile as some of these others, but if you want to explore new soundscapes, that's one to go to.
Yeah, definitely. I'm all for that. Right, let's talk about another effect that came out just this week. Actually, I had an interesting experience with this one. So this is from Inspired Acoustics. This is the INSPIRATA plugin, and it's a Reverb Workstation. Because it isn't just a case of just a few settings here and there. You can actually go through and you can pick models and not models, convolutions, I guess, of a huge range of spaces, and then you can really get into the different settings there. Now, this one came to my attention because I subscribed to Sound on Sound, and I got an email from Sound on Sound saying, saying that if you put in this thing, you can get a free version of INSPIRATA. Turns out that's not just a Sound on Sound thing; it's a general thing. So I thought, it's free. We'll give it a go, see what it sounds like. It looks like it could be, nice and interesting. So I went onto the website and I put in my details and gave, put the code in, and it, validated the code. And then it said to install, you need to download our installer, which is kind of how a lot of companies do it nowadays. So I downloaded the installer, and it says unzip it, put it into your applications, double click on it, sign in, and then your stuff will appear, and you can then just download it. So I downloaded the installer and put it on my desktop and expanded it out of the zip file, and double clicked on the resulting icon, and it just came up with an error message, a Mac system error message. So it clearly just wasn't working, whatever it was. I re-downloaded it and tried it in different places. It just wasn't working. So I emailed their support guys. And to be fair, and I have to say, completely fair, they got back incredibly quickly and said, oh, that's something we've not, can you try downloading it again, or doing this, or turn your antivirus off? And I said, I've done all of that. I've tried it on 2 different machines. It just wasn't working. Then they came back and said, we think we might have found it. So they sent me another installer. Use that one, it installed. Fantastic. So I go to download my stuff, and I click on the thing to download it, and it sits there for hours just doing nothing. So another email, and I get a quick response, and they say, oh yes, we've just updated the version, please try this again. So I tried that again, and now everything starts to download. And then I go to Logic and try to open up in Logic, and the plugin crashes, and I can't get it. So and then another email, and they got back to me yesterday. I think it was like 9 p.m. I think these guys are based in Hungary. So get back to me at 9 p.m. saying we've just updated the plugin. We had a few people had problems, and now it works. So it was a little difficult to kind of get to the point where I could test it, but I could only test it like late last night. And the only thing that I've taken away from this is it's quite CPU hungry. And it sounds nice, but it's quite CPU intensive. Yeah. However, it's free. If you go to inspiredacoustics.com, you can get the INSPIRATA Lite for free, and you get a bunch of rooms that you can upload and use these convolutions. So you've got loads of different things. It goes right up to 22.2 surround mix options in there. So it's quite an expansive little thing. Did you guys get a chance to play with this at all?
I went for it, and again, I had a technical nightmare. It just wouldn't download for me. It kept coming up with an error page, so I gave up in the end. But looking at all the info about it, it does look really good. I hope they can iron out the technical issues with it, because I want my free version for the start.
Well, yeah.
But if you download the free version, apparently that entitles you to a discount on the the paid options. So They need to get that sorted out. If they're going to offer that kind of. You've had problems with it. I've had problems with it. It's not.
And if you're going to obviously do a tie-in with sound on sound and that volume of readership, and you're going to announce it, you got to be there, ready with this. It's got to be pretty robust. But,
so I can't comment on using it because I never got that far. But
well, I'd be interested to know because you've got a Mac Pro, which has probably got a bit more oomph than my iMac, and I basically loaded up Emulator 2V and this, and I held a 3 or 4 note chord down, and it was clicking and popping. I thought, what? That's odd. And I looked, and the CPU meter. I was like, I haven't had that before. I know. I mean, this is a late 2013, 32 gig of RAM. Hasn't got an SSD, so that doesn't help. But I don't often, if any time, get that. Especially using my Focusrite, and that's a little bit heavy on the old processor. But there you go. Cryss, did you get a chance to have a look at this?
No, I'm pretty set on Reverb. Most of the time I'm using Valhalla stuff like Vintage Verb. But I received NeoVerb in a free update from Isotope, and that's been pretty useful. And so probably between those two, that's probably what I use the most right now.
Yeah.
I have some others that are good, so it's like I'm pretty set on Reverb. I'm trying to spend more time like going a little deeper on the things that I am using. So I passed on this one.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm like that with Reverb. I like I like Logic Zone 1, Chroma Verb, and UVI Spark Verb, and Chroma Reverb, whatever it's called, does me for like standard, off the shelf, regular. I just want quick, instant thing, and then Spark Verb does me for lots of the kind of the weird and wonderful things, and then Valhalla or whatever. But yeah.
So funny story about that, about Logic Reverb. So with Robert Native VS, we're talking about Logic the other week, and one of the things that we had been discussing on the show is like, they keep updating stuff, but I'm not always going and checking around to see what they've updated. And so it's kind of been one of my goals later in the year is to spend more time mastering Logic. And so after that conversation, I'm like, all right, I'm going to spend a little time in one of the areas of the plugins and see what's going on here. And so a little bit this week, I checked out the reverbs because I remember the convolution reverb that they had, and they had a few other things that had changed the GUI on there. And Chromaverb was one of the ones that I hadn't really seen the update, or I don't even know if what it was before, if it changed or whatever. But that GUI is nice to watch. I just like looking at it.
Yeah,
so I got that rainbowy look to it.
Yeah, it's nice. Okay, so that's Inspirata from Inspired Acoustics. The light version is free for a limited time, so get on there. You don't have to be a Sound on Sound subscriber. I think you can just go to that website and avail yourself, and just be interested. I'll be interested to see when you do get a chance to play with it, Ben, what you think about the CPU thing, because I'm always worried whenever I get CPU spikes. I think, oh god, something's going with my system, so I'm always a bit worried. But I think with something that's powerful reverb that does up to 22.2 channel surround, has that kind of capability, probably is pushing it a little bit too far.
It is a powerful thing, isn't it?
So I'd be interested to see. Right, we've got a couple of things. So let's do our weekly look at something modular-y. So this is new from Mutable Instruments. It's Blades. Now, I always defer to Cryss on this stuff because I have not much interest in Eurorack, but this is a kind of nice thing. What sets it apart, apparently, according to Mutable Instruments, is that the options that are commonly presented as multiple choices, such as low pass or high pass or serial or parallel, are presented here as a continuum, ready to be explored at the twist of a knob or with a CV. So this is a dual multimode filter, CV controlled overdrive circuit capable of wave folding, the clean 12 dB octave multimode filter, self-oscillating cleanly across the audio range. So I'm going to hand this one over because this really doesn't interest me at all. Sorry to say.
Yeah, for a Eurorack module, this thing is great. It's a it's a little bit pricey, but I'm a big fan of the mutable instrument stuff. That was my first modules were mutable instruments, and I've got part of my whatever that case is called, Mantis, is taken up with some mutable instrument stuff, and I just kind of been following them, and I think for a time there was some concern, at least it seemed to me, because would check out their the Mutable Instruments forum and things going on with Emily, and wondering if more modules would be coming. I think the stuff happening maybe about a year ago, and so now that there have been new modules coming out, a redesign of the VCA, this Blades is a totally new one. I have the original version of Ripples, which is a Roland style filter, and it sounds incredible. They just updated that one as well. On YouTube, there is a DivKid video on Blades, and rather than me say what all this could do, there it is right there. It's a fantastic demo of it, but I like the dual filter design. I mean, I love that about the Moog one and the Matriarch, and in my own Eurorack and the my Waldorf, I've got multiple filter setups to do this kind of thing. This just takes everything and puts it into one, so you've got multiple filter types, you've got distortion and wave folding, and you can create with the two different filters, stereo fills or band pass, and just quite a lot of stuff all together. So if you're into more of a Eurorack setup, or even using something like this with I think this would be a fantastic addition to like a little Eurorack mono synth like I have in my Waldorf. So sounds great.
Yeah, well, if that's your thing, I'm sure it's good. But I don't have any interest. I try, but I just don't.
I thought that I didn't. I've got a little Eurorack.
I know you're teetering, aren't you? I know you're teetering.
But like I'm kind of hoping to create some sort of drum synth, like along the lines of the Waldorf Attack kind of idea.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I'm aiming to do eventually.
Okay.
But watching the demo of this, Ben created some amazing sounds. Now, I'm not sure, because I don't really know much about it, but this is a filter unit, isn't it? So I don't know how much you credit you can give this module for these great sounds that were coming out. Is just a part of it, where's the rest of it coming from? But it did sound great. It was a sound at 1 minute 4 seconds that I'm probably going to have to resort to sampling it off his YouTube video.
off of this.
Hello, and welcome to this video on Blades.
Let's have a look. What did you say? 1 minute 4?
1 minute 4, I think it is. It's superb. It's a great bass sound.
Was that it?
I think it might have been. There was another one that did like a riff thing as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good enough. You can hear the quality there, can't you?
I will. If Ben's done the video, I'll give it a watch. But I can't say that it's going to tip me over the edge.
One of the things about this is it's so versatile, because you think it's two filters and distortion, all this. So you start thinking about what you can do with that. You can use those as oscillators. You can make a complex oscillator out of this unit, in addition to doing whatever filtering stuff that you're doing. So there's, obviously he's using some marbles and rings or plats there, but there's so many things you can do from the module itself. But then you start adding a few other components, because I'm obviously this is not a standalone thing.
No. Yeah.
For a Eurorack filter, it's pretty impressive.
There you go. So that's Mutable Instruments and Blades dual multimode filter. Was it? I think I saw the price was like 5 something or other.
I think it's about $350, isn't it?
About $350.
I think it is. Yeah.
I think it was like $359 dollars.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what it would be in euros or whatever.
Still quite a lot of money, like, but
but if that's your thing. And,
Yeah.
you know, but this is the rabbit hole, Ben. I'm telling you, mate. If you fall down it,
I know.
you're not. I mean, I see you've been selling gear. In fact, talking of gear, you sold some to Ben, didn't you?
I did, yeah. And he's just been in touch with me while we've been on the show. So I don't know whether-
saying it's broken?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, no.
I'm gonna have to contact him as soon as we get off. Yeah, he came round to mine today, and he was on about all this stuff because he just loves it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He loves the modular side of things, and
Of course.
he was giving me some advice on my tip-top rack.
Yeah, you see, they've got you, mate. They've got you.
Yeah.
You are now beyond help.
Yeah.
You'll fall into that deep dark hole. Anyway, so Mutable Instruments Blades out now. Go and get it if that's your thing. Do you want to talk about the Sonokinetic stuff, Ben, or did you? I didn't know because I really honestly haven't had a chance to look at it. The Maximo Sonokinetics.
Oh, I did have a look at it. Did anybody else?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We can skip past that if you don't want. You know, it's basically a whole bunch of like cinematic samples for native complete control NKS or the contact player.
It's a little bit like that Program 24 thing, but for orchestras.
Right.
It gives you orchestral auto accompaniment, and it just sounds like Hans Zimmer when you just play a chord, you know.
It's Hans Zimmer in a box.
Yeah.
Take it, Hans.
It's quite good, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know how customizable it is. You know, have you got you've got these lanes where you can mix and match, like, you know, like the mid range with a different bottom end, and and get different rhythms from that.
I have to say that whenever I see anything that's exclusively contact, I kind of just like, because I'm not into that world.
I can't get contact working, so I'm out for that reason.
Oh dear.
Yeah, there are some interesting libraries for it, and then just as I'm checking out something like, oh, this is good, I would get this. Full contact required. Ah, crap.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And you're stuffed, aren't you?
Yeah.
So that only leaves us with one more topic, and it's kind of about me. You guys kind of wanted me to talk about?
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, but
okay.
dying to it about this.
Okay, all right. So where do we start? So basically, a couple of months ago, kind of out of the blue, although I've spoken to this guy on a few occasions before, but we're not friends. We're just kind of acquaintances that have connected through a mutual appreciation of the Fairlight. Lorne Balfe contacted me, and Lorne is a movie composer, so his list of credits is pretty extensive. Mission Impossible Fallout, his Dark Materials, The Crown Season 3, the Lego Batman movie, Pacific Rim Uprising, and a whole bunch of others. He's very well known in that field. And it was literally a Sunday. I think you guys might remember. It was a Sunday evening before the show. I get this message that says, quite simply, if I send you some MIDI files in a 2 mix, can you have a listen to it and come up with something? So I said, yeah, but why? I honestly thought he'd sent it to me by mistake, that he's got another Rob or Robert in his phone and he was gone. So I said, yeah, okay. And then very quickly it turned into, right, well, we'll get you the files sent and we'll send you an NDA and all of this kind of stuff. I thought, wow, this is serious. Okay, well, we'll give it a go. And he then said, what's your fee? And I'm like, I don't know, because I've never done this sort of thing before. What do I charge? £5,000? Tenner? I don't know. So I went on the Musicians Union website and got some basic prices for session musicians in TV and film, and I got a figure. It was a very modest, incredibly modest figure, but I thought I can't ask more than union rates because I'm not really experienced. So I sent him that figure, and to his credit, they pretty much doubled that. Again, it's still an incredibly modest figure. But that was nice. And so this kind of panic set in. Oh, this is real now because I'm having to send invoices, and so anyway, I get the material like the day before the deadline, so they sent it all out, and they basically asked us to write or improvise some stuff on top of 2 particular tracks. One was a track we all got, and another was a cue from a film. And all we were told was that it was a film. It was one of the first productions to be shot in LA after lockdown. And that was it. We weren't told the premise of the film. We weren't told who was in the film. We weren't told anything. It was just work with the music. And I kind of appreciated that now when I'm thinking about it, because otherwise, I could have, been influenced, by that, and rather than just, the music. Anyway, so we get these cues, and I set myself up in here on a Friday evening, sat for 3 hours, and the other thing was I had to film myself recording the piece that we'd all been sent. So that turns out that is actually the theme from the film. It's it's called the same as the film. We then were told that this film was called Songbird, and it's a Michael Bay production starring Demi Moore and KJ Apa, who's someone from a show called Riverdale. I don't know, I've never seen it, but apparently he's kind of one of the trendy cool kid actors. Sofia Carson, I think, is the actress's name, and then there's a few other recognizable kind of character actors in there. So that was really exciting. And then it all kind of went quiet, and then the trailer drops, and I go onto YouTube and watch the trailer, and I see this. It's a science fiction, near future science fiction film about how COVID has now mutated into COVID-23 or something like that, and it's increasingly more deadly, and the quarantine zones are being set up, and it's kind of very I suppose tongue in cheek. Anyway, the comments section of all of in the trailer was just like an absolute cesspit of conspiracy theories. It's really, really weird, but it was interesting. Anyway, the movie dropped last Friday. It's in selected theatres, both in the US and here in the UK, and I think around the world as well. And it's also available on premium video on demand, such as Amazon Prime and Google and YouTube movies and all that kind of stuff. And it was just this really unique but weird experience of working on a movie score. Obviously, Lorne has composed this thing, but he just gave us like a rhythmic piece and a top line and a few little other bits, and he just said, look, improvise. There's no right or wrong. Just come up with stuff. So I sat here and I think, really struggled, because particularly with the action cue from the film, which comes, it's like the beginning of the third act of the film. There's kind of motorbikes racing through street-lit LA streets, chasing after government vehicles, and it's kind of like that kind of thing, very rhythmic, very atonal. And I sat here trying to come up with something musical, and I was really like, oh no, I can't. It's just not working. So in the end, I was going to try and find this patch now. So I found this patch. I just got the FS1R, so I thought, I'll use that, because you're always looking for an excuse. So I found this thing, and I just kind of, which is a very FME, but it's evolving, sinister. So I tweaked that a little bit, and then I just kept repeating that at certain, at the points where it felt like an emphasis was needed. And then I found another patch that I used on the end, and I really, really didn't like what I'd done, but I ran out of time. But the other thing,
your DX5?
No, that was the FS1R.
I can't quite see it there.
But no, I'm just using the KX88 controller.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But it was the FS1R, and it's just got some amazing kind of, those kinds of sounds in there, very atmospheric stuff. So that kind of worked for that. But for the melodic piece, which was the theme, it was like, I could come up with some things. And I found, because Lorne had approached me about the Fairlight some years ago. So I kind of figured that if he'd come to me, then that's probably what he was expecting. But I didn't have time to kind of set it all up and plug it into the mixers and everything. So I kind of found a patch on the FS1R, which is this. Which kind of has a breathy quality at low velocities, but then a nice kind of cutting thing So I came up with a little refrain that I kind of repeated throughout the piece. And I thought, yeah, that's nice, but, you know, he's paying me money, so I need to come up with something else. So in the end, I turned to my trusty Korg Prophecy, which is just up there, and found this sound. Which is like a kind of synthetic string type, you know, bowed string type thing through a comb filter, very Prophecy-like, and just kind of improvised a kind of a lyrical line on top of it. And that was the one that I, you know, decided to film because I'm not a proficient player. So normally what I will do is I'll come up with a phrase and I'll kind of practice it until I've got it about right and then adjust it in the piano editor. But I couldn't do this. I had to film myself playing this thing. It was like really stressful. So in the end, I managed to do it, and I did hit a couple of bum notes, but managed to edit in the mix, so I was still playing a note that was in key, but it wasn't the note I'd actually played on the keyboard, so hopefully, you know, no one will notice it. So yeah, it all kind of goes quiet, and then a few days before the film gets released, we get contacted saying, you know, it's all coming, it's coming out on Friday, and we're going to be releasing all this stuff, and you can talk about it freely after that. And so I've done a blog post about it. So if you want to know kind of more about it, it is on my website, and I've kind of documented the entire experience. We watched the film. Okay, so this I'm like about 3:00 in the afternoon on Friday. I hear the mixed tracks for the first time, and I'm blown away at how good it sounds and how much of me was left in there, because I just honestly thought that I probably wasn't going to make the cut. And yet my contributions are quite prominent, particularly the one that I really hated, that metallic-y kind of thing, which I thought was just, you know, I was just kind of ticking a box. That's just like super prominent. I was like, wow. So that was kind of nice. It was kind of validating. So I've kind of documented what I used, and I actually used WIDI masters in the studio. So I've asked them if that's kind of the first professional use of the thing. But you can listen to the tracks. The album's available on Apple Music and Spotify and YouTube. And the two tracks I'm involved on are Songbird, which is the title track, and a track called Time to Go. And then they put together this video, which I'll just quickly play a snippet. Oh, no, actually, no, I won't play a snippet because this is published by Sony Music. And I only got halfway through uploading this to YouTube, thinking I could share it that way. And even while it was still uploading, Sony hit me with a copyright claim. So I was like, wow. No. So I won't play it on here because we'll get struck for it. But if you want to go, it's there. And then, say, on Friday night, we watched the film. And, you know, it's not going to win any awards. It's not the greatest movie in the world. It's not the worst. But my kids was like, "Oh, you're going to be on the credits on the end of the film." And I said, "Honestly, I don't know. I don't think so. They don't normally list the musicians, but I guess because of the nature of this, and I'll explain why, they did." And so the screen comes up, and then I don't know if you can see this on here. I'm there, but they've spelt my name wrong. I'm Puricelli, not Puricelli. So that one moment of fame there has kind of been slightly tarnished. However, they can't change, the film. But to be fair, the production company were most apologetic. Intimated that next time they'll get it right. So I thought, well, that's nice. There's going to be a next time.
Yeah.
So that's good.
They owe you now, don't they?
Yeah, quite. Yeah, you've got to do that. Yeah. So, but the interesting thing about this, and I'm trying to be careful about how I talk about it, but this would not have happened had it not been for COVID-19 and the pandemic. This wouldn't have happened because he couldn't assemble an orchestra like he normally does. So he reached out to musicians who were clearly, there's obviously a lot of musicians. I'm not necessarily one of them because I don't make a living from it. But there are many musicians who are struggling to find work. And so he thought, what better way? Let's try and get them involved anyway and do it remotely. Mm. And they clearly thought about how to do this, and it worked really, really well. And when you watch that video, the promo video, There's something like 25 different people. There's people from Borneo, Scotland, the UK, America, Switzerland. There's a great drummer in there from South Africa. It just makes the track. It's absolutely superb. And he's just put it all together, and it sounds really, really nice. I'm really, pleased with how good it sounds. But it would not have happened had it not been for the pandemic. And we sit here and we're at what, week 40 or something since the first lockdown started happening, and something actually good can happen in these times. And I know that there's lots of people who have suffered greatly. They've lost family members and friends, they've lost jobs and all of this kind of stuff, and so I really don't want to disregard that at all. But there are people who have good things have happened, good opportunity. This would not have happened.
We need to celebrate those things amidst everything that's going on.
Yeah. So so there you go. I've been itching to kind of talk about it and have a discussion with people about it. I'll ask Lorne if I can share some of the stuff that he sent originally, because obviously it's very cut down. Kind of talk about the process that we went through to kind of do that. It's not wonderfully technical or revelatory, but
I enjoyed the music that you had sent over to us. Both of the things that you had contributed to sounded really good.
Yeah, it's
what did he intend to do with the footage? You said you had to film, but have I missed this bit?
So that's the promo video. So
right.
If you go down on the page there, it's this one here. So what they did is they took all of our videos and then synced them, and then did this thing with the world map, and we all kind of pop out of our respective countries and fill the screen. And so you've got all these people that during a period of probably 24 to 36 hours, depending on when they did it, were all making their own little contribution to this one track. Everybody made the cut, so I'm told. So even the bagpipes got on there, which is, but everything. It's and it's quite remarkable to kind of hear it all mixed properly, and it's
really creative solution to a bad
situation,
isn't it?
Exactly.
And speaking of good things coming out of COVID, I totally missed this earlier, but in the chat we have someone named EMX Gold. I was like, have I seen this person before? And then there was somebody else named EMX Green, and then later, like a half an hour later, I'm like, wait, I know who that is.
Get him out.
So this is these, if I have it correctly, these are Ben's bandmates from the Electromantics.
Yes.
And you guys are getting a little something going on as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, good things can come out of bad things, and that's always I know that doesn't make up for a lot of the bad things that people have gone through, but
yeah, it's the same for us, isn't it? We'd still be as we were if the COVID situation hadn't arose.
Well, this pretty much came out of it, didn't it? This whole
that's true
show.
as well. Yeah.
So
it's good.
It's there. It's we got it on Amazon Prime Video because it's a premium video on demand. You rent it for 48 hours. It's I think I paid $13.99. You would have thought they'd give me a free one, but hey. But it's it's 90. No, it's less than 90 minutes. It's like 84 minutes long. So it really isn't an in-depth thing. It's kind of straight in with this kind of post-apocalyptic type scenario. It's in actual fact, the more I think about it, it touches all the points of what we've experienced with the pandemic, and it has amplified them maybe to a slight extreme. There are people selling bracelets that that prove that you're immune to the virus, but they pre-program them for anyone, so whether you're immune or not, if you've got the money you can buy it. So that's a little side story that's going on. This whole business of being isolated and that. So it's kind of it's fun. It's a popcorn movie. It's not something you'd want to get too in depth with. But yeah, it's good fun. So
Yeah.
if that's your bag, even if you just want to laugh at my misspelt name at the end,
Yeah.
I was just like, no, you just want this.
But
what you have to do.
am I right in thinking that like you've stormed onto the IMDb scene now?
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to check to see if that's because somebody said, "Oh, you might want to check IMDb," and I thought, "No, surely I won't be on there." So I did submit a change to the name, and it's still pending. Even though it's me.
I'm sure they'll get that changed over to Robbie Puricelli very soon.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, it's my life's story, and my name gets misspelt or mispronounced, and all they had to do was copy and paste it. But I mean, what can you do? It's an amusing little anecdote for the end of the tale, but maybe they'll get it right on the Blu-ray release. Who knows?
I premiered on IMDb a couple of weeks ago, one of my little films, and I was there like, yes, and you've gone and done it with like a big proper release and everything now.
Yeah, well, it's fortunate. But the nice thing was, we talked about this thing, so you will get it right next time, and then we've already started discussing what next time is going to be. And what that's going to be about. So that'll be interesting. And the proposition that's been made is very exciting. So yeah, we shall see. But I don't. As I keep telling my boss in my day job, don't worry. I'm not giving this up because really, it was an incredibly modest fee. In actual fact, I spoke to Ty Unwin a few weeks ago, and kind of, obviously I was under NDA, so I couldn't say exactly what. But I spoke to him about this fee business. And he spat his tea out because he said, "You asked for how much, as in how little?" And he said, "You could have asked for this." I went, no. He said, "No, seriously. The worst he could have done was knock you down a couple of grand." I'm like, grand? Yeah.
And that's always a worrying sign when they double what you've asked for.
Yeah.
It's like...
the only reason he wants to work with me again is because I'm so cheap. But yeah. It was such a great experience. I think above anything, it's pocket money, but what I got out of it was an experience. And if I never do it again, at least I've had that. So that was quite fun. So
it never ceases to amaze me, like when I'm on a show and my name is like on the screen, that people will misspell it pretty much every single way, but the correct way.
Yeah. Yeah,
CHYRS, KRIS, CHRIS.
We got it right. Yeah, we got it right. Yeah, sometimes I misspell my name because I type it too fast. It's not because I don't know how to spell it. It's just because I'm typing too fast. I misspell it and then it goes out and think, Jesus, what are they going to think if I can't even spell my own damn name? There we go. Anyway, so yeah, it's out now. Songbird. Go and have a listen. If you don't want to watch the film, just go and listen to the music. And I don't get anything from it. I signed away all of that. Honestly, the contracts, mate, the stuff I've had to sign is crazy. But yeah, all good fun. So it's out now. And that kind of neatly brings us to the end of the show. Oh, I just want to say, I know that I've been an advocate for these things for some while. Widdy Jack is now officially on pre-sale, so you can go and get it now, and you can type in a code and get 50% off. So it's just 29 euros, dollars, whatever, and maybe that's won somebody PSN bingo. I don't know. So yeah, they're out for pre-order now, shipping in January. So there you go. Anything else you guys want to throw in before we say goodbye?
There was something that I was going to mention earlier, and I can't remember what it was. It was something about the Arturia collection, but I forgot now. So I'll just slope out the way.
Okay. Well, if you remember for next week, we'll bring it up. We'll bring it up. So just to remind everyone that if you want to make a donation to our cause to keep us on air and increase the quality of the show, which might mean replacing the presenters, you can donate. We'll take the money and run and let somebody else run the show. The link is down in the description and it's scrolling across the bottom of your screen right now. So if you feel that way inclined, that would be fantastic. And of course, you can join us on our Facebook page. Just go to Facebook and search for Pro Synth. network, and there you go. We'll be on there. Thanks to everyone that's been in the chat room. I would go through all the sounds. All the names. It's because I was looking at Synthient Sound when I said that. But you all know who you are. Thanks ever so much for dropping by and for sticking with us and joining in with the show in general. And if you're watching on catch up, these live events are probably much more fun. But anyway, thanks for watching, and please do hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the like button, because I think we're almost at our required number of hours. We just need more subscribers to get us up to a point where we can get some minimal we get some minimal funding from YouTube. So like, subscribe, and then hit the bell to get a reminder from every show. And I think on that note, unless you guys, what's he laughing at?
It's the chat room's going mad. They're trying to get Mark Kermo to presenter instead of you.
Is it the hair? Is it the lockdown hair? Because I've kind of got a bit of a Mark Kermode thing going on.
It just cracks me up, the room.
See here, I thought I was doing a Robbie Puricelli thing.
I know. This is horrible. I went out today. We went shopping. And I just didn't think, because I haven't had to think about my hair or my general appearance for so many weeks. And I went out into public today.
Years.
Well, yeah. And I walked past this shop and I just turned my head and caught myself. And I thought, oh my God, I look like a tramp. So I need to get to the hairdressers. I think I can go to the hairdressers now. We're in tier 2. So I think that includes
We need to see a pompadour.
Yeah. I hate. My wife says, "Oh, you should grow your hair," and I say, "I hate it. I always have it like number 1 or number 2." So I've got some clippers, but I'd rather get a professional to do it. And I do a little bit of weekend bum fluff going on there as well. Not as impressive as Chris's thing. I can't see. I'm just not hirsute enough to grow something like that. I'm just very poor in the hair department on there. But there you go. Yeah. We're getting a bit personal now. Right. I just realised I've got this thing going. So, guys, thank you ever so much. Been a pleasure, as always.
Enjoyed it.
We'll see you next week. Speak to you, of course, at the same time. And for everyone that's in the chat room, thanks for coming along, and everyone that's watched, both whether you're watching it live or whether you're watching it on catch-up. We appreciate your patronage, and please do hit all of those necessary buttons. That would be fantastic. Yes. We'll see you same time, same place next week, which will be the pre-Christmas show, won't it? And then the next one will be the post-Christmas show. So maybe we should do something festive. I don't know.
I thought we had Vangelis on that one. Is that fell through?
Oh, have we got him booked? Have we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tried to. Yeah.
That'd be nice. Nice. We have got some good guests lined up. I must say, for 2021, we are starting to get some good names in there. So please do stay tuned, and we'll have some fun with those guys and girls. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Thank you, and good night.